There's a narrow financial window that opens for many people in their early 40s, and most never realize it's there. By the time you reach your early 40s, something unusual often happens beneath the surface of your finances. Income is usually near its peak growth phase. Major early career mistakes have already been made and learned from, and many long-term expenses are becoming more predictable. Individually, these shifts seem ordinary. Together, they create what can quietly become one of the most powerful wealth-building periods of your entire life. Financial progress is rarely linear. In your 20s, income is typically unstable. In your 30s, expenses often surge: housing, childcare, lifestyle upgrades. But in your early 40s, a unique alignment can occur: higher earning power, more financial experience, fewer surprise expenses than before. When these overlap, your financial system becomes unusually efficient. And efficiency, not just income, is what often accelerates wealth. If we map this visually, three forces usually converge in the early 40s. Force 1, income maturity. Many professionals hit their strongest salary growth between ages 38 and 45. Force 2, expense stabilization. Big life transitions have already occurred. Force 3, compounding runway still intact. You still have 20 to 25 years before traditional retirement age. When these overlap, the math starts behaving differently. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, median household income in the U.S. tends to peak between ages 45 and 54. That means your early 40s often sit right on the front edge of your highest earning decade. But income alone doesn't create wealth. What matters is what happens to the gap between what you earn and what you keep. Imagine your salary rises from $85,000 to $110,000 over several years. On paper, that looks like a $25,000 increase, but if your fixed expenses stayed relatively stable, the investable gap might grow much faster. For some households, every additional dollar of income in their 40s is more likely to be saved than in their 30s, simply because the financial structure is more settled. That's the hidden lever. This is exactly where many people quietly lose the advantage, because the early 40s often come with a dangerous psychological signal. You've worked hard, you can finally afford more. And technically, that may be true. But this is also the decade where small lifestyle upgrades can permanently absorb your peak earning power. Researchers at Harvard University have documented what they call the hedonic treadmill effect. In simple terms, people quickly adapt to higher income levels and reset their spending expectations. One widely cited finding shows that after income increases, reported happiness often returns to baseline within months. Financially, this matters because lifestyle inflation tends to become permanent, while income growth is not always guaranteed to continue. Consider something small. You upgrade your car payment from $320 to $620 in your early 40s. That extra $300 per month may not feel dramatic, but invested at 7% over 20 years, that same $300 could grow to roughly $156,000. This is how the wealth window quietly opens and just as quietly closes. Earlier in life, financial mistakes are often survivable. Later in life, recovery time shrinks. Your early 40s sit in the middle, still enough runway to benefit from compounding, but close enough to retirement for mistakes to matter more. This creates what many planners informally call the decision density zone. Small structural choices now carry disproportionate long-term impact. If you invest $1,000 per month, starting at age 42, at a 7% annual return, by age 62, about $520,000. By age 67, about $760,000. 5 extra years adds roughly $240,000. In your early 40s, time is still working strongly in your favor, but the clock is now visible. Many households don't fall behind because of one catastrophic mistake. Instead, they slowly drift. Subscriptions accumulate, housing costs creep upward, travel spending becomes normalized. None of these individually break the system, but together they quietly compress your savings rate during the most powerful decade you have left. According to research from the Employee Benefit Research Institute, households that maintain a savings rate above 15% in mid-career years are significantly more likely to reach retirement readiness benchmarks. Yet many workers in their 40s save far less, not because income is too low, but because expenses have expanded to match it. Again, the gap matters more than the gross number. Two households both earn $120,000 at age 42. Household A saves 8%, household B saves 20%. Over 20 years at 7% returns, household A invests about $192,000 total. Household B invests about $480,000 total. The difference in ending portfolio value can exceed $500,000. Same income, very different outcomes. The career plateau effect. Another reason the early 40s matter, income growth often begins to slow afterward. Not for everyone, but for many professionals, the steepest raises happen between ages 30 and 45. After that, growth tends to flatten unless there is a major career shift, which means your early 40s may represent the last period where both income growth and compounding time are simultaneously strong. This is also when financial complacency becomes most dangerous, because nothing feels broken. Bills are paid, retirement contributions exist, the system appears stable, but stability is not the same as optimization. And many people discover the gap only in their late 50s, when adjustment options are much narrower. The optimization checklist. In your early 40s, 3 quiet upgrades often produce outsized results: increasing savings rate by even 3 to 5 percentage points, eliminating one major fixed expense drag, automating additional investing during peak earning years. None of these are dramatic, but structurally they are powerful. Practical example: subscription creep. You might be carrying $90 per month in subscriptions you barely notice: streaming, apps, premium services. $90 monthly invested at 7% for 22 years becomes roughly $52,000. Again, this is not about deprivation. It's about recognizing when small leaks occur during your highest capacity decade. A study from Morningstar found that investor behavior, specifically timing mistakes and inconsistent contributions, can reduce long-term returns by about 1 to 2 percentage points per year. That may sound small, but over 20 years, a 2% performance gap can reduce a portfolio by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Consistency in your 40s matters more than precision. If you are 41 today, you likely still have about 25 years to age 66, 20 years to age 61. That is enough time for compounding to do meaningful work, but it is no longer distant enough to ignore. This is the narrow window. Housing pressure check. Housing is often the largest variable at this stage. Refinancing decisions, upsizing too late, or carrying an extended mortgage into retirement. These choices can quietly reshape your entire financial trajectory. A modest housing optimization in your early 40s can free thousands per year for investing. The goal is not to live minimally forever. The goal is to recognize that your early 40s often represent peak financial leverage years. Every dollar redirected now has both strong earning power and sufficient time to compound. That combination does not last indefinitely. Quiet action steps. If you want to use this window effectively, focus on structural moves. Gradually increase automated investing. Audit one major recurring expense. Protect your savings rate as income rises.
Avoid locking in large new fixed costs without long-term review. These are not dramatic changes, but they tend to age extremely well. Your early 40s are rarely framed as a critical financial moment, but beneath the surface, this period often combines mature income, stable expenses, and meaningful compounding time. That overlap creates a quiet but powerful wealth window. Most people don't miss it because of one big mistake. They miss it because small structural leaks persist during their highest capacity years. If you notice the window early and make even modest adjustments, the long-term trajectory of your finances can shift more than most people expect. And often, the biggest financial upgrade isn't earning dramatically more. It's finally allowing your strongest earning years to work efficiently on your behalf. If you found this breakdown useful, consider subscribing for more calm, data-driven money insights. And if you're currently in your early 40s or approaching them, take a moment this week to review just one structural lever in your finances. Sometimes the smallest adjustment made at the right time quietly changes everything later.